Oh yeah. At least we get the audio. Anyway, okay. Welcome to this presentation, which I've called Report Sources for Moodle. But a good friend of mine called Adam Jenkins in Japan gave it, he's great at naming things, he suggested the name Report Builder, the sequel. Okay. So to give a bit of background to my history with Moodle reporting, I maintain a website called examinator.com, and off there is ER, which is an entity relationship diagram of the structure of the Moodle database. So what, you might say? The problem in creating that is that when you install Moodle, or whatever your database is, the source code contains the primary foreign key relationships that explain how tables are linked. Unfortunately, for historical reasons, when installation happens, those links are discarded. And so around about 2004, more than 20 years ago, I started to document the database so that people could navigate their way around it. And it was quite complex. It was almost 300 tables. Fast forward to now, over the 2 decades, I've been updating that documentation for each new major release of Moodle, which now has over 400 tables. And the unique thing about this is that it, as I say, it documents the primary foreign key relationship, and you can go to that website, and I maintain it, and the only adverts on are possibly for the company I work for, Catalyst EU, are really rather marvellous, but it's just to provide that service. Okay, that's nice. Moodle, until version 4, was sadly lacking in report creation capabilities, and with Moodle 4 they introduced what they called Report Builder, which was actually quite mature because it had been originally developed for Moodle Workplace, which is not available to download, but it's really, really nice report builder. Stick your hands in the air if you've ever created a report using Report Builder. Everybody, basically. Lovely. Okay. Now, Report Builder came along partly because there wasn't much in the way of alternatives. The 2 freely downloadable GPL ones have been ad-hoc query and configurable reports. And ad-hoc query is particularly good if you're the kind of person that likes to create SQL. There's not many of those people. Yes, absolutely, yeah. And configurable reports is a little more point and click and comes packaged with a bunch of stuff. But configurable reports has been a little bit under-maintained. It's a little bit old-fashioned in its approach. But on the upside, there is a website that contains, maintained like a wiki page, contains at least 100 or more SQL reports you can pull into these things. But one of the problems with both of these tools is that the world of Moodle includes people who install using Postgres and MySQL, and if you do any date-time configuration, they're not compatible. So you'll get, oh, that's an excellent query, and you paste it in and you hit the go button, and you go, you don't understand, which means you're then thinking, oh, I've got to understand the Postgres date-time formatting, at which point you give up and do something else. Okay, so that is me setting the scene, the scenario, some of the problems, and I thought it would be nice to see if I could create, well no, actually there's more to it than this. I have customized both of those in the past to add what I call IntelliSense. So I had forks of both of those so that when you type in the select star from you, and you hit the it would just show you a list of all the tables that start with you, like in a programmer's editor. And I thought, that's good, that's really good. But I didn't pursue it very much because I've had to persuade people to take my code. So, but I thought it's really nice, that is. And this built on all this years of experience documenting the database, the fact that it come up with table names. But earlier this year, and this has only been an idea that's been out in my head for 2 or 3 months, I thought, wouldn't it be nice if I had built a complete report, complete new one, something completely new. Really there's 2 problems there. One is it's inherently quite difficult, and the other is that some people are called 10x programmers. You know the thing? It's brilliant. 10x programmer. I'm a 1x programmer. I can do it as what. But there's a new thing out, you may have heard about, a thing called artificial intelligence and large language models, and particularly a very friendly Claude. I thought, I wonder if Claude can help. So what I'm going to show you today, all of the code has been generated by Claude, which raises the question, did I vibe code this? And the expression vibe code is a bit of a pejorative, and I certainly don't think that's what I did, because I've got 20 years experience of creating code, and so my code doesn't say co-authored by Claude, even though because I want to take responsibility for it, even though it was generated by a large language model. Okay, that's enough of the background, and now I'm going to talk to you about the actual thing. So I went through several different names, and I called it Report Sources because here is the kicker of this. What I'm creating are Core Moodle Report Builder reports. So if you believe that you've got a lot of programmers and a lot of clever people who created the stuff that it gets the output, that's what I'm using. What I create as Report Builder reports. And the magic is they are built on top of database views. Could be Postgres, could be MySQL, MariaDB. I have no idea if it worked with Microsoft SQL Server, because I'm hoping it'll just go away from the world of Moodle in the near future. Okay, so you put in SQL. It's funny, you really should read your AI generated nonsense. It is a configurable report, but it's not the configure. I would have never written that. Okay. So write a query, get a full report builder report, okay? Select star from Moodle user info where active equals 1. Never type in select star, okay? Now, it says there, write a query. Get the AI component configured and get it to write the query. That's far better. It may be wrong first time, but you just say, do it again, and it'll probably be right second time. And that flippant reference to was it the AI accurate? Of course, this is aimed at a very narrow range of people who are ever going to use this, and you have to read your SQL and check it really is outputting what you would hope it's going to output. Okay, actually, let me just pause there for a second. Actually, I'm going to go back. And I'm going to ask for a show of hands. And the first show of hands is put your hand in the air if you've ever used ad-hoc query. A lot of you, I would say it's about 50%. Now put your hands in the air if you've used configurable reports. Slightly fewer, but not that many fewer. Okay, right, yeah. Because configurable reports, originally it was maintained by Juan Yeva, and it's recently been updated to 5.2, but it is a little bit behind the times. So Report Builder only reports on data that is built in sources already exposes. So what that means is if you've got some new and novel thing to join tables that it doesn't know about joining tables, you just can't do it. And for this reason, I have created, using a bunch of PHP, some custom data sources, but ordinary people shouldn't have to think about PHP. You need a custom join or a niche table, you're writing PHP data source classes, which really means you don't do it. Most admins don't know SQL, but most admins know SQL, I don't know. But if you want to write and maintain plugin code, absolutely. I always think that writing a new plugin that should be the last resort. Okay, so you can see here, this is an example of a fairly complex query, but I want to point something out to people who know about this, that this is what you do if you're doing configurable or ad hoc. With this plugin, you don't need squiggly braces, you don't need PHP MDL underscore. If you put them in, it's fine, it accepts it, but you do not need it. So that's just one less thing to think about. You get a full report builder report, no PHP, your SQL becomes a first class data source. It bridges the gap between raw data and polished reports. I wouldn't have written that. No plugin code, no developer round trip. Well, of course, you need this plugin to generate it, but if you were to generate these things and never touch this again, they would still stay there. So Core Report Builder can't reach data outside its package sources, and it certainly can't reach data in third-party plugins, okay? Custom joins are out of the reach without you writing PHP code, and it is a reasonably difficult thing to write your own PHP data source. And calculated columns require a PHP data source class. Again, it's awkward. So with report sources, any SQL, any table, any join, any data set, there are some limitations because there's some things that ban certain columns, such as passwords. Write the join in SQL, no code needed. calculated columns in plain SQL, and of course plain SQL can be complex. So this is comparing with the alternatives. The ad hoc is a static HTML, no sorting or filtering. Also, it's really quite old-fashioned rendering. It's not very pretty, and there are various solutions. You can have some JavaScript for the paging and that, but it's not that pretty. No aggregation card, your saved audiences. Output is locked, no further exploration. Report sources fully sortable, and the reason it's sortable is it's a Core Moodle report. So anything you've seen in Core Moodle reporting, that's what you're actually looking at. It's not like me mimicking it, but that is what you're looking at. Full report builder interactivity out of the box, and you can use, the users can explore, filter and export freely. One of the things I don't mention in this presentation is that there is an associated block for allowing the display of this stuff on courses. Okay, so you've got SQL flexibility, write any query, custom joins, niche tables, niche being your own plugins, because you know, if you've gone to the trouble of putting your own plugin, it'd be nice to be able to create ad hoc query on the data in there. It can reach any data that can be reached in the database, and it's got this report builder polish, because report builder came out of Workplace, and Workplace was designed to impress large commercial organizations, and it is arguably, I think, the slickest looking component that's been added to Core Moodle for years. So build once, reconfigure forever, no SQL change needed to tweak the view. Okay, so this is what does it look like? Okay, this is what it looks like. Oh, by the way, there'll be a link at the end that you can get instant access and go and play with it and see if you can find data that people shouldn't see or what have you. Okay, so you can see that I've got one test report in here. It was created by the owner, it's been published, and these are the things that you can do. You can schedule emails, you can duplicate, delete, all that kind of stuff. But this is really a bit of magic, this says, edit in Moodle's report builder. Not mine, not something I've created. You edit there and then you can unpublish it, okay? So now you can see this is just one, but when you install this plugin, there's an option in the settings that says import some samples, and I think there are about 20. So it will import like 20 samples, which you can then publish and look at and tweak to your own satisfaction. And these have been borrowed from queries that were created for configurable reports and for ad hoc query, because one of my criticisms of Moodle is it's a bit like a Meccano set, whereby you can do anything, but the problem is you have to do anything, you have to build it. So I think including examples is almost always a nice idea. So, dead simple authoring. Plain SQL, bare table names, none of this MDL underscore, oh, I forgot to put it in and get an error. They get wrapped in the Moodle braces automatically, you never see that. Live error checking, it's got some really nice error checking and some very specific error checking. So there are places where if you use a Postgres thing or a MySQL thing, it doesn't just go, I don't know what that is. It says, oh, that's a MySQL thing. Bad tables, unknown columns, and typos are caught before you save. You hit publish, which is the whole workflow, and the report appears in the report builder immediately. So if somebody else had access to report builder, they can see it. So what does it look like? Okay, so you've got a name, a description, and the SQL. This is actually an earlier version screenshot, I realised, because in the later version it's got a button there, you click it and it formats the SQL nicely, makes it more readable. Down here, some features I haven't mentioned yet, is it supports 4 different chart types. Well, it's like 3.5 really. This is pie, line and graph. And this is the standard limit. There's actually an additional feature that's been added since then. So that's what it looks like from the person who is creating these, except you've also got the button there. So anything to do with reporting or SQL, the worry is that people will try a query such as delete star from, and by the way, if you fancy being malicious and see if you can break this installation, go right ahead, because this is my web space and you know nothing bad's going to happen except I'll feel publicly shamed, but you're probably fine with that. So read only, multi-statements and risky queries are blocked outright. Comments and quoted text are stripped before checked, hidden commands can't sneak past. There is a ban list, so config sessions and other sensitive tables are blocked no matter how the query is written. Obviously, no matter how the query is written is something for you people to think about. And there are some special characters, as you may have seen elsewhere. So you can limit it to the current course ID. This is a cross-database portable way of saying now. For most people, you'll just be familiar with MySQL and you won't care. But the idea is over time, it builds up a bank of queries that will run whatever your database is. I'm thinking along here. This allows you to do this thing whereby you have a field and you click on it and it takes you directly to a course. This is a feature that I borrowed from the ad-hoc query. And timestamp, again, this is a format that's sorted chronologically and is cross-compatible with both MySQL and with Postgres. More AI flannel. Sortable and filterable, because it's a core report builder report. Smart date columns display in a friendly format but are sorted by the real timestamp underneath. And card view and export. I have no idea what card view is. You kept mentioning it, I can see it, but I don't know. But this, I think, is useful. Bulk export, conditions and saved audiences all come along for free because you can export and import the report, the query, and you can move it to another machine, which is one of the limitations of the other options there, in the sense you could copy from ad-hoc query, you could copy the SQL, but you couldn't export it as a thing to directly and completely import it. So, visibility. You can make it site-wide, all users on the platform. You can limit it to a course as a drop-down, so you say this only is available on that course, or you can have it in hidden and in draft mode. So you'll see, if you get to go and have a play with this in a little bit, is that there are clear roles, and you lucky people, rather than simply giving you all teacher role, I'm going to give you author role, which means you can see anything anywhere on the site, which is an optionally installed role, because it's a dangerous role just down below from admin, okay? But so I will give you, if you log into this account, I will give you a combination of student, who's just a student, and report author role, which means you'll be able to play with it to your heart's content. Okay, so it will export these to import to another site in JSON. You can import as draft sample reports. Oh yes, this is important. Everything is logged to the standard Moodle logs. Nothing is hidden, who did what, and so that's just what you'd expect. So, let's see what else I've said. Oh, I'm getting bored of this myself. Oh, it's me. Oh, I've got some more slides. Anyway, now I'm going to give you all access to have a play with this, but before I do that, does anybody have a question?
Do you support stored procedures?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. If people are familiar with that, stored procedures run on the database, and the way I say absolutely not is because nothing else in Moodle does, so I don't want to be too adventurous. Somebody else had a question, yeah?
Yeah, I guess it's not really a direct question what you've done, but more I'm just curious to your opinion of, obviously foreign keys aren't maintained as a one thing, but how do you feel about things like class polymorphism in databases? So if it, you'll have maybe two fields in a table where one is a class name and that will alter the table that it joins to.
Yeah.
And there'll be a key that'll be the primary key depending on what the class is.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, like the context table, the context path, just wondering what your opinions was on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I first used Moodle in 2003. Prior to then, I got quite a strong background with databases. But I've completely been absorbed into the Borg of the Moodle way of thinking about databases. And the most exciting and different thing I've done in all these years was for this, which means that I use database views. Every time you create a new one of these report sources, it creates an underlying view, which is like a virtual join of a table. Now, because I know I've got some very smart people in the room here today, I wouldn't be amazed to find out some people will say that under some circumstances that's problematic. It hasn't been for me, but that doesn't matter. So as I say, my scope is very limited, and the stuff you've spoken about polymorphism tables, which I think is mainly a Postgres thing, Moodle pretends that databases are quite straightforward, and therefore it doesn't allow the use of things such as triggers, which are incredibly useful if you're a database admin, but it really overly simplifies things. And I say 20 years, and I've not given those smarter things about databases a lot of thought. Anybody else? Does that really answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Thank you. It's good. Yeah, and interesting about the context table. Anybody else? Any thoughts? Anybody thinking this is truly terrible and there's probably a horrible flaw in it? And I don't think there is.
I'm eager to play with it.
Right, yeah, that's what I like to say. So, unfortunately, I hoped that that there was going to take you to a place that would allow you to go straight in, but it turns out it isn't. So, I am now going to hopefully. In case you're wondering where this has all come from, I work for Catalyst EU, and this has effectively been a sort of research project that's mildly got out of hand in terms of, I think that it's gone from I wonder if to oh my goodness, that's really, really nice. So feel free to create queries that attempt to query columns that you possibly want somebody to have access to, but be aware that only admins and people with the appropriate role can create reports. Right, yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay, so that did that. That's really dull. What you really want is you really want to see what courses they're enrolled on. So if I now go into edit that there, and there's a kind of a keyword, and you say also show the course short name they are enrolled on. Let's format that and look at it and think, that works. Save and publish, cross fingers, open reports. Yeah, seems to have worked. But as I said, the sort of unique thing about this is that this is a Core Moodle Report Builder report. So typically, if you want this thing to look pretty, rather than saying first name there, you would say first name, and you would say last name, and then you've got the preview here, which is kind of odd. And you've got all the features you get. You've got audience, schedule, access, all that kind of stuff. Charlie Farley was the name of a cafe he used to own. You can change your conditions here as you could with the no condition selected. We're going to select a condition. We're going to say where first name starts with A, apply or what have you. Turns out there's no A's in there. Let's get rid of that. And then we've got filters, and we've got sorting. First you sort in any column. I think I can read Guy's mind. He's thinking, oh, indexes, what about performance there? Could have information about indexes, so performance. And then we've got mysterious. And anybody who'd like to explain to me what card view is? I have no idea what card view is. Anyway, it turns out that it's 7 minutes past 10, and I think I'm supposed to finish at 10, so perhaps I should finish and say thank you very much for coming along.